So hey everyone, this is our lightning talk track. For those that don't know, a lightning talk is meant to be a 7-minute or less session to convey a single idea, pretty much. Having done this last year, a lightning talk is more difficult than an actual breakout session because it's really challenging to take a full idea from start to finish in 7 minutes. But we do have quite a good amount of speakers coming through. We had our open submissions for a couple weeks that filled up pretty quick. And there's going to be a lot to get into, so I want to try to keep things going and quickly, smoothly, and efficiently. But everyone has about 7 minutes. I'll have a timer going so people can keep an eye on their time. They'll get about when they get to about 2 minutes left, I'll give them a quick warning. But at 7 minutes, it is, mic cut, get off stage. We'll hook them off. In the spirit of MSP Geek, we were going to have an angry goose to chase them off the stage. But the TSA did not like that, so in the short term, we will just have a friend of mine, Dave, pretend to be the goose. Hi, Dave. He did not know that I was going to do that. There we go. Yeah, I'll just throw computers at them and stuff. But anyway, so it should be a lot of fun. We have this both today and tomorrow. And keep an eye out for it for next year if you didn't get a chance to. It's a great opportunity for those that want to practice public speaking that might not have done so. Last year we had plenty of first-time speakers, and this year we also have some first-time speakers. So it's not limited to anyone in any way, shape, or form. And our criteria for this was just, do you have an idea you wish to present? So without any further ado or other fancy words, I'm going to hand this over to Jason Parsons. Am I pronouncing that right? Okay, I hope so. I usually find some way to screw a name up. So Jason has a fantastic session plan called Running as Admin, Feeling Like a Guest, a talk about imposter syndrome. So with that, Jason, here you go, sir.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, yeah, thanks everyone. I'm Jason from Rising Tide. I'm from the UK, as you can tell. I've worked in the MSP industry for about 15 years before I started working at Rising Tide at the start of this year. If you need to know more than that, find me afterwards because I'm already 20 seconds in. So I offered to do a talk about imposter syndrome and then immediately got imposter syndrome about the fact that I got accepted to do a talk about imposter syndrome. But I think it's something that's quite prevalent in the MSP industry. I think a lot of people have probably felt this certain way at certain times through their career, feeling like maybe they should know more than they do about something, or, feeling like they can't answer a question. They're struggling to learn a new tool as quick as you thought you might be able to learn it. Not feeling confident enough to talk in a meeting because you think your colleagues might know more about something than you do, or might find what you're talking about not useful or relevant. And for me, I think I've worked in the MSP industry for 15 years, and like I said, I've probably felt it at some point during every role, and even today in my role at Rising Tide, I still kind of occasionally feel it. So at Rising Tide I do Halo PSA consultancy, so I spend my days working with MSPs and helping them set their Halo up and being the expert on the call and who can help them set up all their tickets and their workflows and things like that. And some days it goes great and we get everything done and the client's really happy and I'm really happy and I feel like I know everything about the system. And then I don't know if anybody in here actually uses Halo, but then the next day I can be trying to do something and I can just be banging my head against the wall and have no idea what I'm doing, or I can go and have a quick 10-minute call with Mendy, who I don't know if anyone's ever talked to Mendy, but Mendy knows everything about everything. And he doesn't do this on purpose, but then you walk out of there being like, well, I don't know anything about Halo at all, so I definitely shouldn't be doing this job. We had a team meeting last week, and we shared some good news that where the team's growing and we're looking for more people, and we had some job adverts up on the website, so I thought I'd go and have a look at our website and check them out. And Al was like, oh, make sure you have a look and recommend any people. So there's a job advert for a Halo PSA consultant, which is great, and obviously immediately my brain was like, well, this person is to replace you. So time to prep your LinkedIn profile and make out like it was all your idea and you wanted to leave. Or, but that's the thing about imposter syndrome. It's like it can just it just fills that silence and that void and can kind of sneak in at any point, really. And this isn't therapy, by the way. I've got a point. So there's some kind of thoughts that I've worked through the years and had my struggles myself and worked with team members who have had the struggles. And I think there's some stuff that we can kind of do to help each other and ourselves when we feel that way. And some of those things are being deliberate with context. And what I mean by that is we've all done this. I've done this. When we send that message to somebody and saying, "Oh, have you got time for a quick chat?" Or "Have you got can I grab you for 5 minutes?" or something like that. That can set off alarm bells for some people in terms of what's actually going on here. What does this person want to talk to me about? Things like that. When we throw like a quick meeting in someone's calendar, without kind of any context there to catch up with somebody later that day, they're going to spend the rest of that day thinking the worst of what is this meeting about. Another thing is kind of cancelling meetings or one-to-ones and stuff like that. That can, without any kind of context and explanation as to why that's happened, someone again is going to kind of think the worst in that respect. So I think that's something that everyone can kind of do to help others with that. Be specific with feedback, I think, is another great one in terms of explaining to somebody if they, how they're doing, how they did on a particular ticket, a particular problem they helped the client with. Encourage kind of a culture of shout-outs. Make a company culture where people celebrate each other, either via like a Teams channel, a Slack channel, or in-person meetings. Make a things we didn't screw up folder, which can be good for your own things you didn't screw up, or your team members' things that you didn't screw up. That, sometimes when you're having a bad day, it's good to go and look at that folder and look at the client feedback we got and look at the things we did well and the things we can celebrate. I think the important thing to do is remember that we're all just Googling things in the end, or these days asking ChatGPT. So I think, like I said, imposter syndrome sometimes isn't obvious. It's very much, someone can be smashing tickets, coming in, working every day, working late, looking like they're doing a really good job, but they can still be kind of doubting themselves on the inside. So I think the most important thing we can do is, if someone's doing a good job, tell them. Like if your colleagues are doing a good job, if your team members are doing a good job, tell them. Tell your boss if your boss is doing a good job. Tell me after this lightning talk that I did a good job, please. Tell your partner they're doing a good job. Tell your kids they're doing a good job. But most importantly, tell yourselves you're doing a good job. Thanks.
Yes, good job. You're doing a good job. Okay, so that was Jason's session, or little lightning talk on imposter syndrome. Next up, we have Moses from MSPGeekCon, correct? And he's got a session on recognizing customer red flags.
Okay. My marketing department's really going to love the outcome here. But yeah, so I'll introduce myself. My name is Moses Castillo. I have been working in the MSP space as a vendor for several years, and now at MSP Bots. And one of the things you might have seen us around a little bit, we do work with companies that focus on wanting to get more business intelligence out of their tech stack, as well as introduce more automation. But today what I want to talk about is something that I think all business owners and leaders, if you're a leader at an MSP, you're going to really be focused on, and that is, what's my client retention? What does churn look like? How can I keep customers happy? We spend so much time with building relationships with clients that sometimes when we get hit with that message, hey, we're going to look for somebody else. We're not renewing. I want to cancel. Those types of emails, conversations can be tough, and sometimes it catches us off guard. So One of the things that we worked and we just released at MSP Bots, and I think is really something for MSPs to really focus on, is how can we prevent churn? How can we find these red flags as much as possible? You spent so much time as an organization looking for, acquiring these businesses to work with, that what we want to do is identify proactively where it is that we can improve. So once we get that email, what do? We call in the team. We do the post-mortem on this particular client. We look at, hey, did we expect this to happen? What actually happened? Was this preventable? We talk to the CSM team or the person with the relationship. Did you know that this was going to happen? How could this catch you off guard? We try to look through the diagnosis of the CSAT surveys. Had they filled anything out before in the past? And sometimes this just doesn't give us enough information to have done something differently during the relationship. We're looking at it after it's already completed. Is there anything that we can do to identify that sooner? When we're doing that postmortem, obviously it's a little bit too late. We thought we knew them. We thought we had the right relationship with them. They were unhappy. We trusted our instinct. We trusted that we'd be able to figure it out on our own beforehand to do something about it. But now we're taking the data that we saw in the postmortem, and we're going to go ahead and put that in to our processes. However, there are clues within the existing relationship before we get to that point, before we get that message that says, I'm looking for somebody else. It's buried in the ticket notes. We can see it, right? If CSAT is kind of a score, right, I would say the sentiment of a ticket is kind of like reading somebody's body language. They can tell you everything's fine, but you can tell by the way that they're in the room, acting in the room, that things are not okay. And this is where all of the clues in the existing relationship exist. It's in the negative sentiment, all right? We miss those, right? Because as technicians, we're focused on fixing the problem. There is nothing really in place to catch this sentiment, to catch the trends that we see over time. And by the time we do figure it out, by the time we do notice, it's already on the way out. It's already at the end. So, how can we prevent this? How can we take the data that we already have in our system and be able to help give us information we need to raise those flags? Some of the things that we see within our AI sentiment to prevent churn is, we can see these flags. We can flag things as negative, positive, or neutral. We can give real-time alerts to say, hey, this person was really grumpy about the last ticket issue or has been grumpy. We can see a trend over time to make sure that we address those issues proactively instead of waiting for the survey to be completed, instead of waiting till after they tell us to see if we can save them as a client. We can see those things proactively and make changes today. And we can see that through that sentiment analysis within with AI and MSP bots. We can know before the renewal is lost. We can leverage our bots to notify the right person. Hey, your client, CSM, account manager, needs attention. We can go ahead and have it right back into ConnectWise, AutoTask, into your PSA to let you know this ticket needs more attention. The way that it was written, the sentiment that was used is alarming. So let's go ahead and do something about it. And what this does is it automatically helps us create a loop that detects sentiment, the alerts, tracks the historical data and trends so that we can see how that client's sentiment over time is adjusted. So overall, the big picture, what we want to walk away with and what we can do now with incorporating AI into our PSA, into tickets within MSP bots, is that we can start identifying churn to being more predictable. It doesn't have to catch us off guard. Some of it we do know it's coming. There's a good chunk that catches off guard. We can now have a predictor ahead of time. We can create that closed loop to detect, alert, find those trends to make sure that all of that is surfaced before it's too late. And then those proactive alerts and tracking will give us better chance to act, to make changes, to reach out to those clients before it's too late, because we can see whether or not that sentiment has been increasing negative over time, or if it's a positive sentiment over time. But overall, by identifying the clues that are already in the system, they're already giving us the information, we can go ahead and take action, retain those clients you work so hard to bring on board, and make a difference into your NRR, into your business. All right. Thank you for bearing with me on this one. Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, excellent, excellent. I have to grab my phone because, of course, I left it at my seat because I didn't think ahead. So next up, we have Kaylee Floyd with the session on you shouldn't build an MSP to sell it, you should build it to help people. Yeah, we can start getting you ready. You have slides, right?
No, I just decided to talk.
Okay. All right, well, we're ahead of schedule, so you can take it away at your convenience.
That's why I was like, do I stand now? Do we cut for a break? Okay, hi everybody. Thank you to Adam for making me do this as well. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Kaylee Floyd, and I'm the Director of Business Development at Axiom. We started back in 2002. Now, I will admit I was very little in 2002, but my dad is the one that started the company, so I'm very familiar with it, even though I was very little at that time. I'm super excited. Tomorrow I get to talk in my session just about how to be a good employee at an MSP and how to thrive. And so, that was kind of a plug. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So remove that from your brain. But today I really wanted to talk about building an MSP just to sell it. Now, I'm not going to, I don't feel like, at least at this moment, bashing people who do that. That's not my plan up here. My plan is really to convince you to think less about money and more about legacy, in my opinion. So I was really inspired by my dad growing up because he does a lot of really cool things with his MSP. One thing that he really cares about is the people that work for him and work under him. And I do really feel like he's building a culture of just people who love and thrive in an MSP and love to problem solve. And I have talked with a lot of our clients that have come from MSPs that were recently bought out by really large organizations. And they always say, something plummeted, whether it's the service, the amount of services they have, whether it's their support time, whatever it is, something went wrong and it wasn't the same as how it used to be. And it really hurts my heart because we're not a huge MSP. There's only 21 of us. And I really think that the world, that the United States needs MSPs like that just have a heart for helping people and servicing people. And I just think that we should not, think too much. Although, obviously, I'm not going to tell you to not think about money because you have to put food on the table, guys. This is not me saying that. But I think that MSPs are more than just money. I think that they are so needed in an economy that's literally growing on technology. Technology is ever changing, and my mom still doesn't know what the cloud is, and so people need people like us to come in and help them. And I really feel like every time I talk to a client that just recently had their MSP get acquired by a large organization, they have this sour taste in their mouth now to MSPs, where it's all they're going to do now is, once I don't give them enough money, they're just going to boot me to the side, and then that's it. And I hate that. There's 3 things that I did want to mention that I feel like really defines an MSP. One is their services. What type of services do they have? Not all MSPs, I feel like, are created equal. Some really specialize in security. Some is their help desk support times. There's just certain things that they do, and they do it excellent. Another thing is their support itself, their SLA times, how quick they are to finish a ticket. I love our team, and they're very fast with it, and they're excellent with what they do. And I feel like, when we start losing sight of those things is when we slowly start to lose sight of the MSP as a whole. And then the third thing I feel like is leadership. What is leadership doing? Are they building it up for 5 years? and trying to get as many clients through the door as they possibly can just to sell it the next day? Or are they really trying to build a long-lasting thing, a long-lasting company that can grow? And so I wanted to talk lastly about legacy. This is something that I feel like is so important, this word in my life at least, because it's something that's going to last longer than you even will. Longer than your money will, because eventually someday all of us in this room are not going to be here. But something that could be here is your legacy that you leave behind. And what do you want that to be? Whether you're a business owner in this room and you want that to be your business that continues to grow and continues to thrive and continues to help people, that's awesome. Or maybe it's just, you as an employee, you want to help these clients, you want to help these people, or even just help people in your life so that, one day when you're not around to talk, there are still people talking about you and what you did and how you made a difference. So yeah, in my opinion, based upon what I've seen, just as a little kid growing up in an MSP and watching what my dad did, I think that it's not all about the money, but people should really, really focus on the legacy of it. So, yeah, that's it.
All right, lightning strikes. My timer on? Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Tim Golden, founder and CEO of Compliance Scorecard. I'm not going to read you all the bullet points here because it's kind of boring. If you want to learn more about me, please click the QR code. It'll bring you to rickroll.com. Excuse me. I'm kidding. Excuse me? Exactly. All right. So today I want to talk about one of my favorite subjects, AI, automation, GRC, fun stuff, because it is bullshit. Anybody here get on one of those sales calls with the vendor and they talk about automation and they talk about how AI is going to solve the world problems? The number of times I have seen ads on, we will automate 90% of your SOC 2. Anybody seen those ads? I won't call out the specific people or vendors, but they might have a little purple color in them. And I see this over and over and over and over again. Having been in GRC for 20 plus years, really excited about where AI can take us, but very nervous about the marketing bullshit that happens around it. And so all of you are being pitched to here, not just in this conference, but conferences at large, marketing all over the place. Be very, very careful when you hear things like, we will automate 90% of your stuff in 4 seconds or less. Now, for those of you that know me, I like to tell stories. But instead of me telling the story, I'm just going to work through a little bit of the conversation with Sarah. Everybody knows or has a Sarah in their MSP. I just happen to use Sarah because it was my high school girlfriend's name, and you get it. So everybody has a Sarah. Sarah is our amazing technology person. She can crack passwords, she can do tickets, she can close things super fast. And then somebody in management says, hey, Sarah, how would you like to become our compliance expert? You're super organized, you can get shit done really fast, you're able to deal with tickets, you have all these things in place, you'd be really good at becoming our compliance expert. Sarah thinks, no problem. I have the ability to do this. I'm going to call a couple of vendors. I saw this thing that said, automate 90% of my SOC 2. No problem, I can do that. She gets on the phone, and we just missed the part where the sleazy GRC salesperson walks in and says, we have it all. We can automate everything. We have dashboards and checklists and green marks and donuts, and we have all the AI as well that can do all of this stuff. And then Sarah realized, it isn't about dashboards. It is about being able to explain why we're doing this work, building defensibility in our MSP, Maybe some of you were in the session with Matt Lee this afternoon or earlier today and John Harden talking about safe harbor, having the ability to build that defensibility. What she realized is as she dug into the tool and she clicked all the buttons and the AI started to do her thing, yeah, not so much. There was still a lot of manual labor that had to happen, right? It was, well, yeah, as it said, sales fluff, right? The ability to be able to do the work and do the work at scale is really where I want to be able to get here, and for you to get out of this today is AI cannot solve all of your problems, whether it's ticketing, whether it's compliance, whether it's any slew of marketing, any of that other stuff. It will still involve manual labor. So as you're talking to vendors, as you're seeing these things on the internet and the advertising and the stuff being spewed at you over and over and over again, pause, take a second, understand what problem they are trying to solve, and work with that vendor to make sure that they are actually solving the problem. While tools could automate 90% of your stuff, that 10% is where the work has to happen. And that 10% might be thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. You know, when you come on board with Compliance Scorecard, you get 2 or 3 hours of onboarding. That's not automated. That is us working together to make sure that you understand why you're doing this work, how to do the work. It's not about clicking a bunch of buttons and being sold a bullshit set of goods, but understanding that doing the work, putting in the effort to eventually get to where you want. So all in all, be careful what you're being spewed to from salespeople, as my sales team's sitting over here. And 30 seconds, done. Questions, comments, thoughts?
Yeah, Tim, could you call out some of those vendors if we're not familiar with the color
I
scheme
will
for them?
not call out my competitors' names, but I guarantee you've seen them. What's that?
We do technically have a no vendor matching policy.
Yeah, exactly. And even if I wouldn't even say it after the fact, because you know what, we're all trying at least our best to help all of you. Some of us do it better than others. Some of us lie along the way, because when marketing gets involved, enough said. Anyone else? Questions, comments, thoughts?
I'm Dave. Who here can actually read some PowerShell? Not understand it at the most, but at the very least understand how to read some of it. All right, so some of you might understand some of these. Closer. I need to eat it. First up, how many of you understand what's going on with this right here? No, not in the time I have. So if you ask ChatGPT to write me a script to uninstall a piece of software, this is a very common one that comes back. This one is very dangerous. It's found everywhere in the internet as your top 10 results. What this does, actually, runs a reinstall of all of your MSI installed applications. So anything that's installed on your computer essentially gets reinstalled back to default settings. And I have to reprimand a lot of people who I see trying to run this. There is a better way of doing it, and it's actually pulling the uninstall location from the registry itself. This is a very simple version. I have a much longer version I use, but this would probably 40% do what you want to do. This is actually a lot faster than the last method, much safer, doesn't actually reinstall all of your software. And you can expand on it to run some exe-based uninstalls. Up next, who likes, well, I only had like 5 people raise their hand. I'm just going to get right into it. This one can actually cause you some physical harm depending on your proximity to Kelvin. I know, I'm actually kind of happy he's not in here. What the plus equals does, it actually recreates the array, copies it into a new array, and adds your object into it. When in this case, I'm basically making an array of 10,000 items. It becomes very memory heavy, and slow. As we can see, I am just moving here. Oh, wow. I'm fine. Hard reset. This is probably a better way of doing it. You want to basically instantiate an object and just add in each one individually. Running this script takes a fraction of a second. The other one took a bit longer. A lot more efficient memory on the memory. Protects you from putting in the wrong type if you're trying to work with integers in this case. If you try to put a string in, it will error out, and you can actually work with the errors that you're getting. And it is much faster. And I guess I only have one more example, and it was the example I wrote very early on in my career. You haven't lived through this one. This is actually a very simple function. What it does, it basically just takes a path, identifies any files that are older than 30 days, and deletes them. The problem with this one, it has the potential of deleting your System32 folder. If you don't pass a parameter into that path, it's going to error out and run in the directory that you started in, which is typically System32 if you're running it from an RMM. We were doing something similar to this to clean up temporary files, and we hit an error where it was deleting things. I have been preaching validating your inputs. If I had done anything similar to this, I probably should have made this much bigger. Had I verified that the inputs actually existed, it would have exited and not even tried to delete the files. The second one actually goes a step further and protects, another hard reset, sorry. Explicitly protect paths that you know you don't want to delete. So I'm explicitly saying don't delete the C drive and don't delete anything in System32. Thank you. I'm going to hide.
Hi, I'm Matt. I am a serial murderer of plants. And maybe others, you too. Yeah, I'm a definite killer of plants. Nice to meet y'all. This is my wife. I'm fairly convinced she cuts me when I sleep. And one of the things that she got tired of was me killing her plants by our travel. We spend about 105 flights a year and about 48 or so weeks of the year on the road, pretty much, like literally end to end, week to week. So I promised this young lady when we sold our company for the second time that I would invest some money in the most expensive ability to create peppers ever. I fly all the time, so I do this, and we murder plants. So instead, I switched to Home Assistant. How many of you use Home Assistant in the room? Okay, I'm sorry for your souls. Same here. I want to blame Tom Lawrence for this. He sent me down this path. I have over 200 assets in my home. So I know, I'm sorry. I'm trying to get there, bro. It's a real problem. They are all in the inventory. Yes, that is all in my asset inventory. I use Run Zero at home. This is my Home Assistant implementation. And I bought this greenhouse because I don't like to do things small. I had this greenhouse brought in. I actually had to cut trees down to get this in the backyard and my fence. It was really fun because after I cut my fence down, it's a steel fence, I put in these big giant poles in the middle of the fence to put the poles back together. I just told my neighbors I was prepping for tank warfare. It was great. But I got this in. I brought in two 20-amp circuits. So I have 40 amps of power in my greenhouse, which is about half of what the normal household has as a total amp load of their panel of 100 amps. But I brought 40 amps out there. The funniest part was with the electrician's face when I told him what I was doing. I was like, yo, bro, I need like 40 amps of power in my greenhouse. Anyways, we'll get to that in a sec. Okay, temperature. I'm always on the road. I'm not there. And my kids wouldn't take care of it. I couldn't control outdoor conditions, and so I decided to try to control them myself. I have a physical circuit, because guess what? Software sometimes fails. I know this is hard to believe. My programming can fail. And so I put in physical limit switches. I actually have a 1700 watt heater that comes on at a certain temperature, right? A physical switch that just gives it 110 volts at 20 amps and lets it rock. And then I have a digital that I can kind of more nurse it with, right? So if I want to be predictive, I can say it's going to get cold later. Let's raise the temperature now while it's cheap and easy, and let's let that bleed off and keep the temperature I want. So I had a target of trying to keep it at a certain temperature. I have a physical cool problem too. Like, so if it gets really hot, I don't want to kill my plants. So I actually have a combination of a full evacuation air handler. It can move the air in that building like 40 times an hour. And a window that opens based on a wax cylinder melting from temperature. So when it gets above 90 degrees, it starts to melt. That allows spring tension to pull this plunger back up through the cylinder and open the window. It's the neatest damn thing in the world. So it gives me ventilation capabilities. And then I have 1,500 watts of air conditioning that I can cool it with and dehumidify with if I need to, right, by proxy of that. So I can do it that way. These are my air conditioners in their first spots. If you look down in the bottom right corner, I also have 15-gallon tanks that I built. They're leaking right now, so I totally suck. Like, the integration hell is killing me. But we're getting that going. I also have lights above, but here's my outside temperature, inside temperature barriers. So those two lines, see this blue line and this yellow line? That's my happy place. That's plants live territory, right? Like, that's where they thrive. And so I don't want it to get below 65, and I don't really like it above 85. And I fail every now and again. A lot of that is that the air conditioner I have isn't IP controlled, which means I have to set it to a static temperature at its base, even though the greenhouse is hottest at its top. And so I can't just set the lowest enough low to adequately overcome this without getting to a balance point that's too low. It's a real challenge. But I'm trying to get this to where I can really balance it, and I'll probably be investing in some other air conditioning systems like Mitsubishi has that I can do more control of. This is the current output of from seed product that we started growing in about 5 weeks ago, I guess, 6 weeks ago, something like that. If you notice up in the top, I have built-in lights. These lights come on based on an API call to AccuWeather of when the sun up is and sun down is, so it changes every day of what that moment is going to come on at. I anticipate being able to abuse that at some point, where I can start starting them earlier and closing them earlier, so I can start emulating a shortened cycle of time, so I could get like 2 growing seasons or 3 growing seasons in a normal time frame by just altering the way the plants see the light change. I have about 700 watts of light power in here, which translates off to enough to grow in the shadow area space. Humidity and water. So physical, I have a humidifier running that is actually siphoning from my water tanks. So it just kind of keeps going. So I have 20 gallons of humidification. And then that's refilled by the air conditioner. So my digital AC actually feeds into that water tank. So I am paying money just to wet air and dry air. I just want to make sure we're following along at home here. It's a lot of waste of power. In the plants, I actually went down the deep, dark rabbit hole of ESP32W rooms. How many of you have used an ESP32 microcontroller? Okay, the rest of you should. They're much more affordable than an Arduino. They have way more memory space, way more pinouts, way more capabilities. And I'm addicted to them. In fact, I've bought so many of them now, Amazon thinks they're a consumable. Amazon's like, would you like to reorder your cornflakes and your ESP32 microcontrollers? Why, yes, I would, thank you. I need 10 more. I actually use those with a moisture sensor and watering pump combination. So it's a soil hygrometer that checks the soil's moisture. And then as each plant is low, I can then send a command to water from that 15-gallon tank, which lasts quite a long time, especially with the refill and recapture from the air. So these are the ones that I have right now. On the left, you'll see the plant and or its sensor, and maybe sometimes I'll share. Like I have big bed planters that work well. And on the right, you'll see the ability for me to turn on watering. And when I told John Harden that I'm doing this manually, he goes, why wouldn't you just automate it? Suck at programming. Shitty data in, shitty data out. The problem with these things is they're not very accurate. So I'm trying to use other means. I'll probably come up with an average methodology of some sort, or potentially even invent something new to use as a way to do this at the plant level. I would also say LLMs are probably a slam dunk for looking at the plants and telling me where it is from that perspective. And there's a lot of APIs out there that I can go call from for those type of things. So eventually we'll get way smarter at water, don't water, right? Because sometimes they'll make good peppers. It helps to stress them. I'm a data nerd, and so the reason I'm doing this is I actually exceeded the 7 or 14 days that's natively logged in Logger, and instead pushed it out to an influx database that I then visualize this with Grafana, so I can go look at a moment's glance of like what's happening in my greenhouse. These are all the actual water, the moisture sensor numbers of all the plants. You can see the big spikes where we've just watered, like, and you see the little spikes where I'm like, here's a little water from my little pumps, right? The pumps can only deliver a few liters per hour versus like what Cat delivers with in water. So those are the big spikes that max out my numbers. I'm not annoyed by that data at all. Okay, and then temperature. I think I just doubled this in and I didn't feel like fixing it. So I'm done. That's it. Yeah. If you have any questions, we can get into them. But the advocation is, I love using technology, and I just can't not do something. So I always have to be doing something. Yes, Heather?
So how long have you been doing this, and do your plants still die?
Oh, yeah, they're still dying. No, we're much healthier now. I started this process, I looked back at the data, I started in November. So we sold our company again in November, gave me the funding I needed. But I've been testing parts of it for a year. Like, I've been testing pieces of it. Like, I had indoor plants that I was checking the moisture to determine how shitty they were, which they are, they suck. And then how the pumps delivered. I went through 10 failed designs of pumps and delivery that now I'm like the semi-failed one of an integration. But yeah, I found these really dope watering things that have a wire in them so you can bend them wherever you want them. And so I can get it above the plant and spray down. I was trying soil delivery. It just doesn't work the same. But anyways, yeah, about 4 months, 5 months now, I guess. 9 months. 7 months.
What kind of peppers?
Oh, so I've got, Cat, we have cayenne, we have ghost pepper, we have jalapeno, we have habanero, and bell peppers. Yeah, so also have cabbage. I just stuff. Yeah, other stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah, you know what I mean. Actually, what started this is a friend of mine is a commercial marijuana grower, and he was telling me about his automated greenhouse, like as a software man. I'm like, cool, man, what's the price tag on that little guy? Oh, $1 million. No, that checks out. I'm out. And I decided I was going to build it myself with microcontrollers. Even with the time I put in, I probably have 15 grand in it total. So, most expensive pepper you'll ever eat. But yes.
Why do you use soil instead of some kind of like hydroponic system? That would completely.
The neighbors are already coming knocking. No, I'm teasing. You are right, though. I just wanted to. I'm honest with you. I could have done a giant water bath and had nutrients in the water bath and done it that way, and it's significantly more measurable for sure. I just wanted to. It was an exercise. I had this cool dude build me some dope cedar boxes, and so I got to fill these cedar boxes with soil. No, good call. Anything else? Yeah, if you don't know that I'm a major nerd, you do now. So good. Thanks, y'all. Fair. Thank you.
I was looking forward to that all day, knowing what the lightning talk was, because when do we ever get to hear Matt Lee speak about something that is not cybersecurity? So, this next session is going to be a really, really interesting one. I can't even begin to pronounce your last name, so I'm not going to try. So I'll let you introduce yourself and what your session is.
All right, thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Austin Arsenault, and today we are having a legendary person join us. We have the one and only Goots to give you his origin story. So, first off, Goots, I would just like to thank you for your time. My pleasure. It is an honor being here. I know you're obsessed with me. So, Goots, we all love you, but what is the story? How did you rise to fame? Well, in 2022, Ashley Cooper's son, yes. Have you not seen the Guten Tag? I forgot my lederhosen, but yes. So in 2022, Ashley Cooper's son brought me to fame, put me in the spotlight, and you people became so obsessed with me, I may as well have been a Kardashian. But I love being here. So Goots, that's great. 2022, we love you. What are you up to today? Well, I've been dating around. I had that fling with Pete Davidson. Sorry. So, okay, let's maybe not get into that. So what are you going to do tonight? What are you going to do at MSP Geek? I'm going to throw down at karaoke, and I hope to see you all there. Have you heard the band Flock of Seagulls? Yeah, I ran away. Okay. Well, they are amateur hour compared to what Goots will be singing on the microphone. So please, bring your friends and come down to karaoke, okay? Well, Goots, what are you going to sing? Such a secret. You have to come out to find out. Anyways, so does anybody have any questions for Goots? I don't know. Any questions for Goots? In the back.
What do you think about the commercialization of yeast to sell in MSP conference?
They're paying me very handsomely. I'm loving it. I just bought my 3rd penthouse in Düsseldorf, Germany. I don't know. It's been great. But yes, thank you. Just always know your worth. Get paid.
How do you like the name Cobra Chicken?
Oh, honey, you are thinking of my Canadian relatives. They are like my redneck relatives. I am a proper Goots. Sorry. We have time for one last question for Goots before he goes and gets ready for karaoke tonight. Does anybody have one last question? Bueller. All right. Well, hey, thank you. Oh, we do. Why did the goose quit his server admin job? Anybody? He couldn't handle all the quacks. All right, and that's my time. Sorry, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I didn't know it was possible to upstage a Matt Lee session, but here we are. Okay, so that is technically all the lightning talks that we've had scheduled. However, we still have about 15 minutes. So if there's anyone that would like to improvise one, feel free. If not, I will improvise one. But that'll... Oh, Mendy wants to jump in? Yeah, Mendy? Okay. I wish we do Jurassic Park and cybersecurity and at risk. That's fun.
This won't be recorded unless we have a screen hooked up, right? And we need a screen to record, is that correct? Oh, it's recording, okay. Why am I coming up here? You're going to sit there for right now. Great. I will sit here and hang up. Hey, everyone. Is this on? Testing. Can you hear me? No. No, you can't hear me? Do I have to eat the mic? Okay. So I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I don't know why I put on my hand. But when we were first planning lightning talks, how much time do I have? Oh, nice. Timer. Perfect. Okay. So when we were first planning lightning talks last year, the topic idea came up when one of the guys I was talking to, one of my friends / clients, said, Mendy, you should do a talk on self-defense, because we've both been to martial arts for quite a while. And it was like, okay, sure. I don't know if he's here. Dan, I don't see him. He's in the conference. I just don't think he's in this room. Otherwise, I'd call him up instead. I'm going to use Kyle. This will be fun. I'm not going to fight him. I'm just going to do a couple things that will hopefully end with him not being harmed. Now here's the thing: is that when I go to the gym, and I do the self-defense, fighting classes, they make me sign a waiver that says if I get hurt, I can't blame them. And we don't have this waiver here, so I'm not going to do anything like too crazy. So one of the things that they teach you in self-defense is, okay, so just for clarity's sake, the self-defense classes I go to is called Krav Maga. Or it's a version of Krav Maga. It's called the Israeli Combat System. And Israelis are brutal. They're brutal in their self-defense. Their entire intention is to end the fight as quickly as possible and to get away. No. There will be no deaths. Okay, so they go through a couple different moves. For beginners just to get them hooked into the idea that it's cool and it's fun. So we're going to do that. We're going to go through a couple of the beginner moves, and I'm just going to show you guys how it works. Kyle, do you want to be voluntold to come up here, please? All right. So the way this works is that the idea behind the self-defense is that it doesn't require strength, it requires mechanics. And so it's about precision and practice. So if I'm facing Kyle, and Kyle were to decide to choke me, which means that his hands would be around my neck. Go ahead. There you go, like that. And if Kyle is stronger than me, then I can't do anything to get his hands off my neck. I want you to kind of squeeze, but not too hard. You should feel the strain in my voice when I'm talking. There you go. All right, so what we do is I'm going to trap his arm with my arm, and I'm just going to turn around. We're just going to move so you guys can see this clearly. I'm going to take my arm up, and I'm going to trap his wrist between my shoulder by essentially pinning my arm against his ear. Against my ear. What am I saying? Lack of oxygen. It's getting to me. All right, so the only other thing that we do is we pivot as quickly as possible, as forcefully as possible to break the grip. So if Kyle were to squeeze, I would pin and pivot. I didn't even do anything. I just rotated my hips. I rotated my hips, and just like that, choke is broken. Then there's like some more things that I would do that I'm not gonna do. Wow, what did you do to that person? Who said that?
I helped you out. Tom, where you at? I'll change your name back.
He got fired.
Come find me. I'll hook you up.
Anyways, how much time am I at? You're at 4 minutes. 4 minutes, okay.
What about HR issues?
We got a couple more things we can do. We have a question.
I also did Krav Maga. I've got a move for women.
Okay.
Let's
get
get
do you
up
wanna,
there.
Can I do it to you?
Yeah.
Please, thank God.
Come on up. Let's do this.
I don't think we
Should I
have
just
time
go
for
now?
this one.
Okay. No, I'm just gonna do Miss Congeniality sing. Does anyone do that?
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just kidding. Okay. Let's see. Whoa. Okay, so a lot of the time when somebody, I say that like I've been kidnapped multiple times. I've never been. But when somebody is attempting for a female, sometimes what they can do is grab your hair, if you have like a ponytail on. And so what they say to do is this move where if they're grabbing your hair, you're going to go down and into them with your elbows and shove up. So let's do an example. Yeah, you grab my hair. Okay. And so what you do is you take it and you come around and you bring up like that. And then if you're really lucky, you can do a knee to the groin.
I gotta see the full motion.
Can we see the full movement?
I don't know if I can do it without.
Dude, there is no try.
I can show you how to rear naked choke somebody.
You got my back.
Yeah, choke him out.
We're showing moves.
She was saying that you
Let's
do
go.
it, you think you'd be the.
I didn't think I'd be the one to
Okay.
President.
Does anybody watch UFC? Cool. Okay, so there's a move in jiu-jitsu called
Rear naked choke.
where what you do is you take your arm and you basically take the crease of your arm right here and you get it connected to like where their Adam's apple would be. And you hook around like this, take your hand in the other crease, put your arm inside there and bring it around, and you're gonna tighten them. As you tighten up, they're
6
gonna
seconds.
tighten up as well, and they will pass out.
6.5 seconds if you do this.
You make this face.
We only get 6 if you don't do that.
Can we verify it?
Yeah, they don't believe you.
6 seconds sounds a little.
Does anybody want to pass out? I'll come 6 hours. Band. Perma band. Security.
That's what we're doing later.
All right, guys. We're at time, right? You have another one next?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, we went through everyone today. People have been ahead of schedule, so.
I'm going to steal the mic because apparently it's a habit of mine, which most people don't get unless you're at orbit. But in any case, one of the things that I learned in self-defense, not a defense move, not as fun as what we just went through, or most of you went through, I don't know if Kyle and I had as much fun, but when it comes to security, when it comes to defending, when it comes to learning, there's a common theme that happens no matter what. One of the first things they teach you in ICS, the Israeli Combat System, is the different modes that you're going to be in when you're going through life. They call them condition yellow, condition white, and condition yellow is like when you're essentially in ready mode. Condition white, they say like you should never be in, essentially. Unless you're sleeping or dead, you should not be in condition white. It's essentially you're on your phone, you're not paying attention, you have no idea what's going on around you, you're unaware. Condition yellow is when you're walking around in public, you're not in a safe space necessarily, and you should always be aware of what's going on, who's walking around you, and what may or may not happen. And then there's the fighting stance, which is just, you know, whatever stance they teach you for whatever art, if you can call it that you're learning. But the thing that's common is the condition yellow, that always paying attention. And I mean, I did a talk about how to troubleshoot properly. I did a couple talks about that. The common theme there was read the entire screen. It was a very prevalent, thank you, concept. Being aware of what's going on, what you're doing, what the screen's telling you, being aware of what's going on in your surroundings so you can be ready for something that happens, right? Victims are people who aren't necessarily aware, right? A lot of times, whether or not someone's going to mess with you, it's about attitude, how you look. If you're not aware, they're going to get you. Not to scare you, but the same thing happens in cybersecurity, right? It's what you don't see coming that gets you. It's the basis of establishing your asset management, like knowing what you have, right? I think I just got a +1 from Matt. Matt points. And that's it. And that's the thing. Like the more that I did the self-defense, there are a lot of things that I was able to draw out of there. So they talk about when you're building your home security, and you're doing, making sure that your home is safe. You build concentric circles of security around your house. There's layers that you build to make sure physical security, the perimeter is established. What do you do when something happens? What safe rooms do you go to? And as they're going through this and talking about it, they're literally like saying all the right words and all the right concepts that literally talk to you about building a cybersecurity framework and strategy for your business and what you're doing. So it's just interesting to me how we can pull from various things that seem unrelated that are actually kind of the same thing. And so that's why I wanted to talk about self-defense, and then also, I wanted to hurt Kyle a little bit, just a little bit. There was the Dumb and Dumber thing I was going to get you back for. That was it.
We actually planned this in the content committee meeting, all stayed prepared.
Should have watched those recordings.
You should have watched those recordings. And that's it. That's all I got. I'm done.
But who